do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before. Do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
G'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're doing all right for a Thursday night, isn't it? I sort of missed one there last night. I do apologise. It just got away from me yesterday, I have to say. And by the time I got back here, I was asleep. I missed two big things, the show and the thing I was meant to be at after last night's show. And then I was awake at 4:30 this morning wondering, and wide awake, like just spectacularly wide awake. So I thought, I'll get up and do a show now. Probably a bit stupid doing it at 4:30 in the morning. So I dug around, watched a few videos, and tried to get a little more interesting stuff to tell you. I hope you're going well, folks. The world really is in a battle place at the moment. On a personal level, have been dealing with a few issues, and some of those have to do with me needing to pull my head in a little bit, and I'm happy to do so. Sometimes I may overstate and oversay things, and I know, and I do get things wrong. One of which was the price I paid for LifeWave patches, just between you, me, and the Gay Post. I'm paying the same as you are. Don't know where I got $113 from. I think I must have bought something else around that time, and that's what I remembered at $113. But so yeah, I've also had the opportunity to be dealing with a great many people from different walks and strides of life recently, and I am learning so much from them. It's been quite the growth experience, and I've got to say, not only the work, although today I haven't been terribly busy. We've discovered there is an issue with the mulcher, and that the big part of that is the mulching part isn't actually turning. We hope to have that fixed by the end of this week, but we'll see what happens. Could be a clutch on it, which could be a real issue. We don't actually know how that happened either, because the thing hasn't been, and it was working quite well when we shut it down the other day, so it was just left basically in the down at Picnic Point. I think I've shown you the video. It hasn't been anybody around there. Nobody could have done anything to it, really. So, I don't know. These things might just sit and shit themselves. But whatever, it slowed us up a bit on the mulching, which has been annoying. But there is still plenty of sawing to be going on. Absolutely tons of it. No more holes in the belt. Pleased to say, found another belt, which is much shorter than the one I've got. So now the one I've been using, which I've been punching all the holes into, I can discard because it nearly goes halfway around me again, and start with this smaller belt, which I may not have to punch holes into because it's a smaller belt. So I only found it about half an hour ago. I haven't had the chance to try it on with anything yet, but we'll see how that goes. Exciting things, belts around here. I had a bit of a look prior to the show. There's been some, all the usual family are in. So hello, family. Hope you're doing well. I'm trying to scroll back up the top. Aussie Sue was first in tonight. God love you. And as always, she's usually the first one to put that up too. If you could like and share, folks, it helps with the algorithm. We are so suppressed on the channels that you are watching. It doesn't matter which channel you are watching on. We are very highly suppressed on the YouTube and Facebook side of things. But YouTube, I beg your pardon, Rumble have been freeing up a bit. And I noticed that the show has been turning up in some of their promotional stuff. So it is getting a little bit wider promotion. And, of course, you can always find us on Project Matilda. Thank you to Dan for everything that he does for the freedom movement. If you haven't joined projectmatilda.com, please go and do so. It's just like Facebook, only it's by Australians for Australians. Of course, you can be from somewhere else and be part of it. but it's much cooler, and it doesn't have the censorship that Mark Zuckerberg has admitted now Facebook or Meta were imposing over the jibbity jab and other conversations. Now, he seems to have gone to water like all leftist retards do, or leftards do, I beg your pardon, and is telling the Congress, well, I don't know if he's telling them everything, but he's certainly making it very clear that the White House, under Biden's administration, were putting large amounts of pressure on the Meta team to censor comment, to wasn't sure if we're going to have a few problems tonight or not. It's been really dodgy coverage out here today, so bear with me, folks, if it's a bit scratchy. So interesting times in that part of the world. Well, I guess more will come of that in the not too distant future. Let me just have a bit of a glance down here. There were a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Did I star them? Oh, no, wrong one. I thought I did. It doesn't look like I've starred these comments. I was going to say personal accountant. Guru is usually on at 7. I wonder if Carl could start at 6. Well, Guru used to be on at 6, and I think he changed, so he can start it up past 7. That's the one I was looking for. Well, you wonder why Rennick and Canavan and Broadbent won't join One Nation. I can tell you the reason behind that. The name is Pauline Hanson. To explain that further would require letting out a little bit of information that I know that I don't know that I probably should let out. However, there has been movement to form a much broader party for the people, of the people. And there have been politicians in the background involved with that, including from all of the minor parties. But the unwillingness of one or possibly two or more members, I think more the former than the latter, to accept anything other than total leadership has brought all of that to a halt. So I don't know where that leaves the parties concerned or those that were willing to get behind such a diversified group of experienced politicians who have shown inclinations in the last 4 years to actually do a lot more from the people than anybody else in that place has done in many more years than 4. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong, that there may well be a certain amount of ego involved in all of this. Bringing people who are alphas together to the table and asking them all to bow down to one of them is difficult. Especially when, from my understanding, is the one that's refusing it or refuses to bow down to anybody. So that, to me, raises a whole plethora of new questions about certain members currently sitting in that place and how dedicated they really are to fixing the problems of this country, of we the people. I'm afraid I don't see much dedication there from certainly many. I'm not going to isolate one in particular because there are so many in both houses of that apocalyptic place in Canberra who are doing nothing for the people, and they're doing everything for themselves or for the corporation. For what comes next, ploughing the ground for the UN, the WEF, the WHO, which we'll get to shortly. So more to chew on there, I think, but it would be fantastic to see a number of people flocking, and I believe there are a number of people or inquiries in play to join Senator Rennick's party. Now I've forgotten the name of it. Let's see if I've still got the picture up here somewhere. I do. Look at that. The People First Party. Now, he's going to be an independent senator running for People First. Now, could you also run as an independent, be that a senator or a member of parliament, and run under a People's First banner? If that's something you might consider doing as a loose coalition, if you like, similar to what Ricardo was, well, I suppose, pretending to try and put together. But I believe with someone like Rennick, who would need to be in some form of leadership position, because he started the party, didn't he? I'm trying to get away from this leadership thing. If it's at all possible, it'd be wonderful if those dissenting politicians who came so close to forming a party for the people, the betterment of this nation, they came so close. It would be nice if we had a place for them to come that was people. And that leadership wasn't something that had to happen. It was a group of independents who managed to come together under one guiding principle. Well, maybe a couple, but the first one should be looking after the people first. Now, in a national parliament, you would take the national interest, but you would also take in your local area, your electorate interests, and the interests of the electorate beside you. And once you've fixed all your problems and the electorate beside you's problems, then you can go on to fixing other things. Bigger things. But we can only do it if we have enough people standing up. What use is Rennick as a lone voice standing as an independent senator in the Senate, other than being a thorn in the side of anybody who has to sit up till 2 o'clock in the morning to hear his speech, which is when they'll run it, or everybody else will just walk out anyway when he says his speech. Have you noticed that? If I was ever in that place and able to commit laws to changing the way things were done, it would be that every member sits in that chair that the people pay him to, or she, to be in every sitting day, and every minute there is a speech being read. They're there. I mean, it must be boring. Clive Palmer's gone to sleep. We've seen that. And there are many others who've gone to sleep while long and boring speeches go on. But how much disrespect does it show, particularly, and I'll use Malcolm Roberts here as an example, how much disrespect does it show to all Queensland voters and electors of Malcolm Roberts to that seat, when his very well written, usually pretty well presented speech is presented to the Deputy Speaker and the administration arm of the Parliament. And if you're lucky, one or two very tired looking Labor senators, and well, there'll be a Green there somewhere. Jackie Lambie could be floating around unless the members' bar's still open. That'd probably be, she might still be hanging around there a bit. I don't know. Life might have changed. That particular piece of work, Katie Gallagher, who introduced the digital ID bill and then didn't bother turning up to vote for it. If we can get good people to stand as independents, but are prepared to work together as a coalition once elected, to work together without ego, to work together for the betterment of our nation and not to the detriment of our nation. Now, sometimes there might have to be a bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but Peter will get the money back, or Peter will get the benefit back. It can be managed if you've got people who care making the decisions. We don't have people who care about us making decisions for and about us at all. In fact, we have just the opposite. We have people who are dead set against us, who would see us dead via any means possible, old and new, including the 2 new jibbity jabs that have been authorised by the TGA for the strain. 2 new types, because they've made up a new strain. Nobody's really... Have you noticed? The weird thing is nobody's dying of the spicy cough anymore. There's an awful lot of kidney failures. Have you noticed that? Shitload of kidney failures. And then, there is a few things, like Ray Martin recently has come out and said, I think it was on SBS. You can go back and look at this. The next decade, we will see more deaths than any other time in Australia. I wonder whether or not Ray's going to go in and tell us why that is. We know why that is, don't we? Huge increases in kidney issues, huge increases in blood issues, huge increases in huge reintroductions of cancers in those that have been in remission for many, many years. Huge changes to the physiology of women who went through menopause 20 years ago and at 70 years of age have started to bleed again. Huge issues with brain fog. Huge issues, some with coordination. And all the time, the government and the politicians and those advising them in the health department tell us lies. Now, I can understand that the politicians are telling the lies because they're idiots for the most part and are only as bright as the advisor advising them. Now, if that advisor has been bought off, then you can be guaranteed that, and particularly if the minister's not terribly bright, you can be guaranteed they're being walked around like a puppy on a leash. Guaranteed of it. So we need strong people to stand up to the bureaucracy, because that bureaucracy isn't going to change until we get strong people in the parliament to change it. To change it. So that we don't get decisions like this smart-ass, smarmy bastard, Jason Clare.
Today I can announce that, subject to the bill passing, the overall number of international students starting a course next year will be set at 270,000. This includes higher education courses and vocational education and training courses. And what this means is next year that there'll be about the same number of international students starting a course here as there were before the pandemic.
So before the pandemic, there wasn't a housing crisis. And the key piece of that little speech from this smarmy prick is that there will be 240,000 new students starting. New courses starting. That's on top of the 145,000 that came in legally this last year to study courses, who, unless they were doing a one-year course, and I'm pretty confident for too many of them, And this smarmy prick is going to introduce another 270,000 of them to the universities. I hope the universities are building dormitories. Do you think they'll be doing that? With government funding, probably, but they are overrunning our country. And when I say they, I'm talking about our government. Our government is allowing it to happen. Our government put its foot down on 150 illegal educational institutions, or institutions who were in name only, and the way that hundreds, not hundreds, tens of thousands, possibly over 100,000 people, predominantly from India, got into this country. A certain number from on student visas for educational courses they never attended. They've come to Australia for other reasons. And why wouldn't you? It's a great country. Well, it used to be. Now it's being turned into the shitlands that these people have come from. And the Labor government in this country, and I fear the Liberal National Alternative, are responsible for it. Now, it's clear that One Nation and United Australia are two parties we could all go out and support. But to what end? We haven't been able to get enough support to them to make much of a difference in years. Why is that? Is it the corporate big money? Well, listen, if we can talk to enough people, if we can do enough ads, if we can get the message out enough, we can negate what they say. And if you are willing to stand in your community, or someone you know is willing to stand in your community, and you're prepared to stand beside them and support them, then when that person gets to Canberra and joins, I hope, many, 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 many others with the same view of bettering this nation, rather than a singular, myopic view of themselves and once every 4 years their electorate getting a benefit, then this country will go forward. And this country will go forward at such a rapid rate that it will astound even the most skeptic amongst us. Why? Because we are a nation of doers. We always have been a nation of doers. The stories of our defence forces doing shit are legendary among other defence forces. Australians band together and help each other at every opportunity. It has been the Australian way. But so much of that has been curtailed these days. So much of it you place yourself in danger for. We are now sitting at a period in time where if you drive upon a car crash and you're the first person there, you have to decide whether or not you are going to accept the legal responsibility that comes with offering first aid to somebody that might be bleeding out in the driver's seat. Now, I know, I would hope, all of us would accept that responsibility immediately. But sadly, there are those among us who think of that first and foremost, and on me, on me, on me, on me, and will watch that person bleed out in the front seat. If that person is lucky enough to be found by somebody who allows them to retain their dignity while dying, the person that finds them won't pull out their mobile phone and film it. Sadly, that seems to be the first thing that people do these days. And I can understand that to a point. But it's a very sad indictment on our society. We want people who will do for all of us. If you're not talking about this amongst yourselves now, then when? Queensland, what are you going to do in October when that Muppet Miles stands up for the Labor Party, and I can't even think of the bloke from the Liberal National Party's name, Krista something Mop or something, I don't know. And that goes to show how little respect I have for a group that can't even get enough media promotion or have enough nous in their policy for me to even bother to learn their leader's name. I don't care what their leader's name is. I want their policies. I know what their policies are, so I don't care who's leading them. It doesn't matter. They're shit. They are not for the people. So what's going to happen, Queensland? One Nation could make a difference here in Queensland. The Katter Party, certainly in far north Queensland, our friends through the Cairns News, could make a significant difference. But you've got to stand people all over the state. And yep, it will be harder in the more populous areas of Brisbane, the Gold Coast, and the Sunshine Coast, bearing in mind that some of these sitting members have been entrenched there for eons. Some, particularly in the Labor side, not so long. There was a routing under Campbell Newman some years ago, but I think they got most of those seats back in the last few elections. Now, I think it's probably the Liberal Party who've got maybe 2 or 3, with the Nationals tagging along for a couple of others. Who are these weak men in this Liberal National Party? Who are the weak women in the Liberal National Party? Why don't we hear more of them? And how is it that they cannot make ground against a muppet like Stephen Miles? There is so much shit going down in Queensland. I won't waste your time with it because I know many of you are not part of Queensland, but it is staggering the amount of bullshit they're going on with. All right, let's kick into a couple of, we'll kick off with a pretty horrifying thing, really. This happened in Brisbane. An Aussie mum and her other half, her husband, are begging for help to try and identify this man who poured boiling hot coffee on her baby. Baby is, I think, only weeks old, matter of weeks old, has burns to 60% of his body. And the parents have no idea why this man would come and pour boiling hot coffee on their child. The parents actually haven't been identified, whether or not they're Asian either. If they are Asian, I think we can understand there is a message being sent there somewhere. And the police, I'm sure, would be looking into all manners of things regarding that. But if you happen to know who that bloke is, by all means, if you think the police are going to do anything about it, but pardon me, let them know. I mean, we'd hope they'd do something about it, but hope is a strange thing. Look, big moves in Iraq. We've all been waiting for the news of the Iraqi dinar to go through the roof. There has been a little bit of a balancing of the currency over there. But now, the latest and greatest news out of Iraq. I can't begin to tell you how sick that makes me. How angry. It's enough for me to go back to war against them. It's just abhorrent. Tell you what else is abhorrent, and I can't show the videos. I can't show the stills I took. I was horrified myself flicking through photos because I'd forgotten I'd done this a few days ago. I was on Facebook, and there was a a bunch of still pictures showing full sex, full huge penises, full anal and vaginal sex, all sorts of different things in my Facebook feed. And I couldn't believe I was seeing it. It was a ad for some kind of well, the ad itself wasn't for anything to do with what the pictures were. That was the hook. You know, this ad came up, and the ad was saying one thing but meaning something completely different. Facebook especially is getting a lot of this kind of crap. I don't know if you're seeing it. I don't know why I'd be seeing it, because I'm just not into porn. But it's a weird thing that Facebook. Well, I don't suppose it is weird, because the other day, I don't think I've got the video loaded up. Maybe I did. Let me have a quick look. No, there is a video that I saw the other day. It is a children's book, and it is going in through the back door, is what it's called, or the back door. And it's a book almost, well, it is for children, and I would say for ages 5 and up. Given the way it's written in a lyric or a poem form. It's very melodic in how it says things, and it never once refers to anal sex, while every line is referring to anal sex. That's okay on Facebook. But me talking to you about the jibbity jab, shit, no, that'll get me blocked for months. Get off it. Go to Project Matilda. You very rarely see me on Facebook anymore. I post things up there, but I don't even go to see what reaction they get anymore. You know, it's just filth, particularly my feed for whatever reason. And I guess they can direct filth at people that they like or don't like. But yeah, it's disgusting, just disgusting. And I report every one of these things that comes through. And I guess I never see that ad again, but I do get to see others that they figure I must have decided to like instead. Unbelievable. Yeah, just staggering. So you may be aware that over the weekend, the Telegram boss got arrested in France. Now, France is not necessarily the country you want to get arrested in, because their laws are, well, a little bit interesting. And, of course, being in the EU and being one of the heads of the snake in the EU, they can pretty much do whatever they like to you. So this press release was put out by the prosecutor of the Republic, outlining that there are now 12 charges against Pavel Durov, who is the guy who came up with Telegram. Now, you can see that a great many of those charges are to do with complicity, and they're naming things like child pornography and hiding or encrypted communications, yada, yada, yada. All these rather pathetic and made up charges. I've got a sneaking suspicion that Pavel Durov might just be able to prove that, because contrary to what many people may believe, there are a whole heap of what we call bait sites set up on the internet, bait apps set up on the internet. What if Telegram's one of them? Just saying. Don't know for sure. Just saying. All right. We're moving along. I'll get off quickly because Guru started. I want to say a big happy birthday to a wonderful lady, and I hope she's had a great day. Jules on the Gold Coast. Mick gave me a call this morning and told me that it's your birthday and that you didn't want him to get you a present or anything. God, you're a good woman. I hope that he didn't listen to you, but just on the off chance that he did and he thought this was okay, then he did ring me and tell me it was your birthday. God love you. Thank you for all the help and all the ideas and all the health information that you've given me, and the pine needles. Love the pine needles. And I hope you've had a great day, a really great birthday. So go out, or if you are out, I hope you had a great night out for dinner. And all things being equal in a beautiful world, see you soon. I've also been, I nearly say trolled, but it's not really the case because I invited this trolling. Now, I haven't converted the videos yet. I will get them together for tomorrow's show because it is a Friday free-for-all after all, and we should have a little bit of entertainment. But if you've ever wondered what it's like on a cane farm, and a cane farm in far North Queensland, well, say g'day to Skipper Pete, better known as One Eye amongst the locals up there. Now, they've been out planting cane, but what are they doing there at the moment? Well, they're cutting it. They're cutting cane to turn billets to replant those billets. And this was in his I'm taking still photo stage. He has sent me a number of videos, but they're in a format that I can't just dump straight into here. So he does explain the process. If you don't know much about cane farming, and I certainly didn't, it's been rather interesting to see the process of how it's all put together. And I didn't realise that there was so much water involved. Just as well, it pisses rain in far North Queensland, and they've got this much of it lying on top of the ground at the moment. He doesn't like that very much. Makes it hard to get the cane in the ground, but I imagine timing is a bit of a thing there. So g'day, mate. I hope you go very well in far North Queensland, and you've managed to get that last 20 acres in. And there is one other thing I want to show you tonight to just emphasize to you that and how important it is that you remember these words all the time. Words are important. You must understand their meaning. Also, punctuation helps. If you're still wondering about that one, well, you'll just have to live and wonder. I started out the night tonight looking at these. 1955, the cost of living. Now, we've heard all sorts of talk about the revaluation, the Nasara Jasara coming through, everybody getting a reasonable sum back into their bank accounts or digital account or whatever it's going to turn out to be. And more particularly, one of the big curlies out of that whole conspiracy theory, let me call it, is that we will revert to prices from 1955. Now, that's all well and good. If you were around in 1955, you might remember. I wasn't. That was 10 years before I came into the world. So this is what you would have paid for a new house, your average income in the year, a new car, average rent per month. Tuition at Harvard University was $800 a year. Movie ticket for 75 cents each. Gas was 23 cents a gallon, which, God, must make it about 8 cents a litre or less. And a stamp cost 3 cents. Anyway, you can see for yourself. How cool is that? I just think that it'd make a difference in my bank balance if we could go back to 1955 prices, particularly for fuel. That would be a bloody great thing. All right, folks, going to love you and leave you tonight because I actually have a barbecue I've got to go off to. One of the community, I've got a friend who's come from Canada, and she's being introduced to the community as far as I'm aware. So I've got to go over and wave the flag there tonight for a little while. You have yourself a bloody good night. There will be a bit of a live tomorrow during the day on the Nun2K channel. I've got a sneaking suspicion. There'll be a couple of interesting little things I might be doing tomorrow, which I might take you along for. And of course, tomorrow night, we're trying to get together for the free-for-all once again. I'm sorry I've been a bit lax, or not lax, but a bit over and around with times this week. It's just I'm not used to working this hard, to be honest. And I fell asleep in the chair again yesterday, and I was just zonked. Really zonked until I don't even know what time I got into bed. It was very dark, but I was awake at 4:30 when it was still very bloody dark. Didn't get light for another hour. If that happens again tomorrow morning, I'm going sunrise. Speaking of the birds, we're getting into that time now that it's, if you've been in the warmer climes over the last few days, we are at the end of August, getting into September, and our reptilian brethren are starting to wake. That means that when they wake up, there'll be two things: hungry and horny. And horny is probably the more dominant feeling that they will have. That means that we are approaching the time of year where you're going to find snakes in places where you probably ordinarily wouldn't find them. Why are you going to find them there? Well, because they're going off to try and find a partner and get busy with it. Now, they don't get that many opportunities. There's only really 1 month a year when a snake is remotely interested in another snake. And that happens to be pretty much from the warmer end of August through October. Now, just be aware. They can travel great distances in a day if they have to. If they get the whiff of a female, the males will be on the run. You might also find carpet pythons particularly entwined, wrapped up, and sort of you'll hear them in your ceiling, because that's where most carpet pythons live in Queensland, in your ceiling. And if you get two males in there fighting over a female, it'll sound like, two small dogs having a fairly rough wrestling match up in your roof. And that's what it is. Two males combating. They're not having sex. They're not trying to get amorous. They're not doing a sex dance. That's two males fighting. And the way that one wins is he'll pin the other one down. And that one, once he realizes he's been pinned and he's been pinned 2 or 3 times, he'll eventually give up and try and find himself another female, and old mate will go and have his time with mum. But I have seen 5 males and 1 female in one roof during that time, September, October. And those 5 males were all fighting over 1 female. So just be prepared. You might hear a few strange bangs in the night. Don't be worried. Please don't get a shovel out, all right? Particularly if it's a python. And if you can't tell the difference between a python and any kind of other snake, please go and educate yourself, okay? There is no reason on earth for you to go and kill a carpet python or any other kind of python, because they're not interested in you. We don't have boa constrictor-sized pythons here or anacondas. They're not going to swallow you whole. There has been the odd horror story of people waking up with a large python in bed with them, but that's only because of the conditions at the time, and the fact I know one of these people who wound up with a 4-meter carpet python in bed with her at night. She lived in what was ostensibly a tree house. It was the middle of summer. All the windows and doors were open to try and get a breeze in. And like I said, it was essentially a tree house. So she was sharing the habitat of the snake, which for whatever reason, we think it had something to do with a cold snap that sort of evening, decided it was going to come inside to get warm. And it found the warmest place, obviously, which was curled up in bed beside her. It didn't bite her. It didn't attack her or anything. It just found the warmest place. I know, probably not ideal if you're not keen on snakes to wake up and find a 4-meter carpet python in bed with you. But it happens. Not often. And it's pretty easy. Keep your doors closed. And I would advise you this time of year, if you're in Queensland particularly, your garage door, your carport door, usually has a weather strip along the bottom of it that only really tiny snakes could probably get under. But if you have the door up, your whole garage is a beautiful and exciting playground for a snake to go in and maybe find a feed, particularly if he's following the scent of a rat or a mouse that might have gone in there at some stage. And just because he got into your garage and you've got 2 steps from your garage to the house doesn't mean he won't go under the door and climb those 2 steps and wind up in your kitchen. And sometimes the ones that do that aren't pythons. They're eastern browns. And I've been with people who've picked these things out from underneath fridges in kitchens, from underneath ovens in kitchens, and from underneath dishwashers in kitchens, where we've got to dismantle the whole thing, pull it out, and try and find the snake. So keep those doors closed, okay? Because that's where they'll come in, through your garage. Or if you have sliding doors and that sort of thing out the back, be prepared. If you leave a door open, an animal doesn't knock. It just walks inside. I found that with the goats here today. I'd driven off and somehow Mother managed to leave my door open. When I came back half an hour later, I was surrounded by goats. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. The goats have come down for a bit of a chat. I quite like the goats, well, one of them. And I could see that Footy was standing there waiting for me. So I pulled up, come in. I think Footy had been inside here for a bit of a look. I found hoof prints. Didn't get all the way inside, but got up the stairs, and then the reason I've got a big rubber mat at the top of the stairs, I could see 2 goat hoof prints in it, where it must have stood there for a while and just had a bit of a look around. So, yes, got to be a bit careful of the goats. They're very friendly, the goats around here. Oh, and I had a lamb moment today. So we had a baby lamb, which I think we've called Caramel, because it's not black and white. All our sheep here are black and white, except one, this lamb. It's absolutely caramel and white. And its mother doesn't like it. Its mother's got sore nipples. Don't know why Mother's got sore nipples, because she's only had this one baby, but she doesn't like the baby and won't let it feed. So it's currently in, well, sort of half our care. You don't want to take it away from the flock. You don't want to. Mother's looking after it otherwise, just not letting it feed because she's sore. And I haven't got any nipple cream to get close to her, and I don't know that she'd let me wrap a lettuce around it, which apparently is very good if you've got sore nipples. Just saying. But yeah, she's being hand-reared at the moment, or he's a little ram. And about the cutest thing ever. And I was cuddling him today, and he was cuddling me back. I realized I only wanted food, and I didn't take a bloody photo. So I'll have to go and try that tomorrow for those of you who are into cute animal photos. See what I can do. I've never really been one for cute animal photos myself, if I'm honest. But anyway, it is what it is. Let me have a bit of a scan down the list here of things that have been said. Sorry to hear that, personal accountant. And Tony, yes, I saw yours too, mate. That's bad news. I'm very sorry to hear your news there, mate, losing your sister. I guess we're all being struck by it at one level or another. That's what Ray's getting at. Ray says there's going to be more deaths in the next 10 years than there ever has been in the same time period in Australia before. And yet everybody seems to be ignoring the reason why. It can't be allowed to go on. RJ, John Wilson, another video with Bosie gave you a spray. I don't care. I'm surprised anybody's watching him, or Bosie for that matter. I know Bosie's peddling hard in America at the moment, trying to blow his sail up over there. And it works because the Americans like the lieutenant colonel kind of thing. And one of the bits that I saw recently was, no, I'm not going to bother. I would just ask you folks, if Bosie was serious about being a player in Australia and helping Australians, wouldn't he be here helping Australians? Wouldn't he be communicating with Australians? Wouldn't he be trying to lead, as he set himself up for that? All John Wilson is a dog barking at the end of Bosie's leash. That's all that is. And it always has been, sadly. I don't care what John has to say. I used to care deeply about a lot of things that John was about. But then John showed he really wasn't caring about those things at all to me. And showed a true side that, obviously he couldn't deal with me once he'd shown it. So, I don't know. Nothing I did to upset him. Oh, that's right. I got a bus. Brett, to help the algorithm, I should ask a few questions, get people to respond with, say, number 4 for yes or 5 for no. Oh, really? Okay. All right, folks. Number 4 for yes and number 5 for no. I've got to come up with bloody questions now. Do you know anyone in your local area, and I mean consider that your electorate, state or federal, that is willing to stand up and work for the betterment of all Australian people? Do you know somebody like that from your community? Let me go down the bottom here and see if we're scrolling. Oh, hang on, I saw a yellow thing there somewhere. Oh, Aussie Sue, God love you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Every little bit helps. I don't have my hand up for $200,000 like John, but every little bit helps. I was going down the bottom to check out numbers, wasn't I? All right. Yes or no? Do you know anybody in your local community that would stand up and offer themselves? Okay. Paul doesn't know anyone. So we said 4 was no, 5 was yes, didn't we? Right. So yes was 4, no was 5. Okay, I'm going to have to go back through and count all those. It looks about 50-50, but that could be a... I saw Camillo's name. Yeah, Sunflower, absolutely. I would vote for Camillo in a heartbeat. You know he's the kind of person that would stand up for the community. I think Darren Bergwerf is another one that I would vote for because he's all about community, although whether or not he'd go into a parliamentary system these days or not, I significantly doubt. So yes is 4, 5 is no. Delete yours, Sandy. I know what you're saying. All right. Okay. Well, I've probably got to say the 5s have it by no whisker. Well, that's encouraging, I would have thought, because, to be honest, I maybe didn't think that there was going to be that many reacting. And it'll be interesting to see. Folks, if you're watching this delayed, please leave a 4 or a 5 in the comments if you know someone that would stand up or that, would be good for your community. 4 for yes, 5 for no. I think that's what we're settling on. 4 for yes, 5 for no. And maybe if you feel the urge, drop a general vicinity, Central Queensland, Southeast Queensland, Far North Queensland, Eastern Victoria, Central Victoria, Western Victoria, Melbourne, not too identifying, Sydney, South Eastern, Western New South Wales, wherever you're at. Be a bit broad about it. I'd be interested to see. Because we need the yes number to grow, folks. We need more 4s. We need to find these people because nobody else is going to fight for us in that place. Nobody. They're just going to have us parade through the 4 years and elect their mates again. And because they've probably got away with rigging it before, they may well get away with rigging it again. But we'll have skin in the game this time. More and more skin in the game. That's what we need. We need an overwhelming amount of skin in the game. We need multiple people standing in every one of these seats to take votes away from the bribed and the brain dead who will simply vote Liberal or Labor. Can you help me find them, please? If we can do that, then I think we all stand a very good chance of making this world a better place. Certainly making this country a better place. And who knows, might even take a few dickheads off the road.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!